folks. Going a little early since there was no Marf tonight, so figured catch a few extra people that go to sleep early. Utah, remember we saw the severe weather on the map heading to Utah with enhancement on that day? G4 enhancement. All right. Howdy, folks. Welcome back. I told you I would be back. Let me get rid of the music real quick there. Okay, that was Utah on August 12th when we had our G4 storm. Remember, I showed you on the forecast, watch out for thunderstorms in Utah. And there was the enhancement, and they got hit pretty good there. All right, so welcome back, folks. I told you I'd be back. All right, while this is loading up, I take a moment to thank you guys for taking a moment of your precious time to be here with this precious family. When you make it to the end of the show and you understand a few more things here, you'll understand how precious this family is and how precious you are to me. Okay? So, let's get rolling here. 8/13/2024, 81324. All right, we're a little early tonight, so we got this going, and this is the rest of. We took a little peek at this incident last night, a few frames of it. So let's go ahead and just dive on in. We'll capture the opening frame here in a minute. Let that loop play one more time. You see that little thing squirt out first, okay, and then here we go. You see a little core in there. All right, so there's opening frame right there. Okay, so August 13th, 2024, 024, and you can see this little flame spitting out kind of thing effect here. And then on both sides here, you can see our object dark with the rounding plasma rounding the front edge right here and then trailing back. Go one more frame right there. Okay, you can also see it over here on this side too. As well as possibly one out in front of it here. Almost looks like a zigzag lightning bolt type structure. It comes out, goes over and down. Here, we'll have to darken that a little bit because that's too bright for the camera. There we go. Now you see the zigzag effect that I'm talking about goes over and then comes here because there seems to be one here, and then our other one that's back behind here, right in that zone. As it continues to move on out, there's a good shot. Okay, as that continues to move on out of frame, we got more activity going on up here. Might just leave it darkened like that for a minute while we kind of just go through this. Okay, another one squirting out down there. You can see the V-shaped bow shock tail on it. And then here comes another event out of our spire region here. And this one at the same time. Okay, when this bigger one approaches and it has satellites with it, it'll tear off one of the satellites or moons. I call them satellites because they orbit around a bigger object. Our bigger object will be in this zone here. You'll see it coming out in here. You can already see one of the little moons trailing some plasma with it. So these things tear away at the same time, and we get what they call the sympathetic CMEs or sympathetic solar flares at the same time. Well, it's because we have an object, two objects tearing away from each other at the same time, interacting with the sun at the same time. There's a good shot of our little object in here. This is our bigger one kind of back in here. Let's see if we can capture that. Well, right there possibly. This one's a little harder to tell if this is a bigger object in the back here or if it's the magnetic field surrounding this smaller one. But our bigger black round feature here seems to have plasma trailing off the top edge over here. Let's go in just a tad bit closer because see, there's differences between just a shadow and something that's really there that has. And when you see this flaming trailing edge on the back side right here, this is a dead giveaway that we have an object, a bigger object. You can see the back side of it here. So our bigger round black object here with several satellite moons accompanying it. You see our flow, our stretch, spread out flow right here. So I don't think this is the magnetic field of a little central object. This looks to me more like, because of this flaming coming off in this region on the back side of this round object, we're a little too close in. We have to pull back sometimes because well, things are happening in different dimensions. That, well, we go one more tighter. I want to catch it just right where it's, there we go. That's a little bit better. Let me go ahead and slide this on over as much as I can right there. All right. Possibly one out in front of it right here too. So this bigger object has a cluster of a bunch of little satellites with it, and one of them tore away over here. When you play with magnets, you'll find that they attract and that they also repulse each other. And when they get to a certain level, they will a certain barrier will come over to this little thing here, but you see these lines that come out, this donut shaped torus field. Well, there's inner loops and loops that are smaller and tighter that come out, and ones that are bigger that go out of the page and come back in. Well, same with the sun. Same with the sun. It has those loops, and when something else with a magnetic field interacts with one of those outer loops, then it fires off, grabs one, pulls it away, shoots it off in another, ricochets off in a different angle. Okay, we're a little too close in there, but... And we get your sympathetic CMEs that happen, simultaneously. Two different regions light up at the same time. Well, it's because we had an impact of one of this, for lack of a better term, a small solar system of its own right there because it's got a central object with not necessarily a sun, but a central object with other objects orbiting around it, right? There's a good shot of it right there. All right, so that was today, the 13th. You can even see this. Whoops, where's my. How it's pulled the plasma out and draping around the front of this moon. This moon has a little magnetic field too. The bigger object right here, little moon out in front, has like almost like the nose of a fighter jet. It will break the wind first. Well, this is kind of leading the way, and the curvature of the plasma is on the very tip leading that thing. But this ghostly image in the back right there that's our bigger object right there. Okay. Hopefully you guys see that and you understand what I'm trying to point out here. It's kind of disturbing, but it's the subject that nobody else will touch. Okay. Trust me, you look crazy if you try to approach this subject. And as you look, there's other ones shooting off up here and there. I need to brighten it back up a little bit. No, my bad. Okay, there we go. As we click away through this, you see all these trailing satellites. Some of them, just like our solar. Whoa. That thing right there. Just like our solar system, we have things that rotate further out. Well, imagine objects that have an orbit around that other one that's a little further out, so they trail behind. And then they also lead as well. So look, here we are again at 024, the very opening of our event. So watch all the little stuff come in first, our main object, and then a bunch of little stuff afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and put that, in reverse for you there. Okay. Let this loop. All right. Here we go at the beginning. There's little ones coming in, interacting. There's our bigger object, a bunch of other little ones ricochet off, and then some other ones trailing behind it. Okay. So there's that. Now, let's come on over to our solar ham here. And as we dip on in here, our solar flux index is at 260. It's coming down slowly but surely. It came down another 12 points. So we were at 336. I never dreamed we would ever see it over 300. We saw it at 303, and then 336 was just like, whoa, way out there. So coming back down below 300, that's good. Our sunspot number is below 200. We're into the yellow now. It came down 46 spots today, so that's good. Area is down 40 points as well, but we got a serious situation here with this 3784. Okay, this is a very complex, well, not complex, it's a very strange sunspot because it's north-south. There's the wrapping around effect coming on with this, magnetic field trying to get around it, and this thing's going center disk. Mind you, we're located on the southern part down here of the, how do I say this? The equator of the sun like this. We're not positioned right at the equator. The Earth is just a little south of the sun's equator, so usually it's this stuff that's direct hit, but that's still kind of center disk. We got to watch that sucker closely, and we'll get in a little closer here with it. We got a better map of it in a minute here. So let's just back out of that. So there's all your solar stuff, solar flux index coming down. That's good. Finally, 3-day geomagnetic forecast. We still got a G1 forecasted for the 14th. Okay. So we're going to add that into our weather report tonight. And what I showed you at the opening was Utah, and they got hit with those thunderstorms. Remember, I told you that was going to have the geomagnetic enhancement if they had those thunderstorms that day. Sure enough, that large hail swamped them and stuff. So it's a very delicate balance, and you got to keep up on it. If you sleep one day and miss something, you're way behind. So let's just go to town here. Okay, meanwhile, I want to go ahead and zoom on in at this GOES X-ray flux here. Pull this over a little bit. Now you can see we had that. You saw the activity today, all the little satellites flaring off and stuff and going in different directions than the main object. So this doesn't necessarily reflect what you saw on the satellite. This is more of what happened between the Earth and the Sun. Okay. Some pretty cool activity right at the end here is our event. And then going into the next day is another event right here. You guys want to take a peek at this other event right here? You don't? Really? You don't want to take a peek into the future and see what other kind of weird object may have come off the sun right here? Well, tough. We're going to do it anyway. I love you guys. You're good sports. You know what I'm saying? All right. Refresh for every frame, and let's take a peek under the hood. Let this load up here for a second. Now we're going into 814 here. Let that kind of skip and bobble, and while it's doing that and loading up, I'm going to thank you again for sticking it out this far into the show, because some of this information can be disturbing and can rattle a person. So if you're strong in your faith and you stick it out to the end of the show, it's worth it. Look at this back here. Wow. Can I take a peek at that, please? Please, can we see what's going on here? Oh, boy. Okay, you see our streak coming off at a rude angle. All right, this is going across the flow. Yes or no? Because of our object coming out right here, you can see its little moon. You can even see the curvature of it. Oh, whoa, whoa, cowboy. All right, and that's the very last frame, but you can also see stuff going on down here. So a lot of these little trailing objects, whatever's going on down here, let's pull back a little bit and go ahead and march through these frame by frame again there. So the next frame is boom, boom. Okay, let me slide again, please, Lord. Please slide. There we go. Get nice and pretty like for you. So there's your opening frame of the 14th. Already kind of looking into the future here. Bing. Is that a skipping data? 48 to 125. Yeah, a little bit, not much, but just a few frames. All kinds of pool balls scattering across the table. It's like, breaking a rack of pool balls. And they all scatter and ricochet and hit hit the walls and bounce off and go different direction kind of effect. Here we go. This thing's got definitely changing the direction right there. Let me just show you something real quick. One more time here at this. All right, you see this flow comes out this way and takes a turn. This line comes out and goes tink, it goes that way. That's plasma. That's light. This is bending light. This is bending light, yes or no? Okay. Yeah. And then you can see our V-shaped bow shock tail on this thing down here. This darker one, probably right there. We could do some shading if we want, but you can make out where it would be. There we go. Tilt it like that. All right. Try not to lose my wavy lines too much. All right, so there's a little peek into the future already. So tomorrow looks to be another active day because it's already starting off with two good spikes. All right, so let's back on out of this now. Get on along here. All right, so nothing forecasted for the 15th and the 16th yet. We'll see what happens here in the moments to come. Meanwhile, X Flare 25, M Flare 75. We have the one M4.2 that they're just showing right here on the cusp right there. All right, this other one will probably be an M4 or something. Well, we could take a peek. It's not that important right now. We got other stuff to do. There's stuff that's way more important. There's your KP index. There's your impact. Your G4 coming back down to G1. All right. You know I'm a stickler for absorption. And this right here is all being absorbed down to the core. Let me kind of pop up an example of what I'm talking about here. Okay, these blue lines are your magnetic field lines that propagate out past the planet, right? As they come into the pole region, they get all the way down to the core. This is positive, this is negative, or reverse, either way. And in this demonstration right here, in the pop-up, so south, north, whatever, polarized like this, waves hit these magnetic field lines. See these different barriers? The sun has the same effect. So maybe a magnetic field line, when it hits one of these barriers, tears off the satellite and makes it go ricochet away, because the sun has these same kind of loops around it. All right, but as I was telling you, energy hits these loops, gets sent via these loops down to the core. Here's the core. Here's the outer core. Your well, cryolite area type, really dense, and then magma. Okay, so there's this barrier I'm a little skeptical about right here. Okay, but we still have the core spinning, and when we play this video, you'll see all these lines spinning and stuff here in just a minute. But I just wanted to kind of give you well, an example, a little something that we can grasp onto. So that energy, all this got sent to the core. There are going to be repercussions from that because it got absorbed. There'll be swelling and heating of the core. Come back here. The core is going to heat up and swell. That means expand. It'll expand outward. This will heat up and want to expand outward too. Depending on this barrier right here, that's where I'm a little iffy on this little example. But the magnetic field lines is what I'm looking for in this example. So the pressure coming down on this outer core, the shell, is so intense that it can't expand outward very much. So when it does expand from heating, it expands inward back down on the core. And that's when we get our effects on the human over here like this. Well, I'm jumping ahead. I'm jumping way ahead. Okay, so sorry, I got to slow down. All right, so let's back to this. Meanwhile, 3784, beta, gamma, delta, and growing. All right, that's our main concern, 3784. That's our big bad boy right here, center disk. Bingo, 3784. You know what I want to do? We'll just do this too. I don't know why I'm going so fast. I'm on early. All right, there's a good example of how close. All right, you know what? Quit playing games, Brian. Let's give him the whole thing right up nice and pretty that close. Do you see how these things look like they're about to swirl together? And you see this red starting to kind of swoop around the outside. It's blue branching out, trying to keep that from happening. But look, it's creeping up through here too. This sucker is so close and ready to pop. Everybody needs to pray. Be aware that when any kind of energy come off, that's going to head our way. All right. All right, back to our forecast. So we have this, all this energy just came in, going to be absorbed down to the core. Currently G1. Back to this, 3784 being the main culprit. Also 3780 is the big one too. And you can see it from Earth, naked eye. 377 still on the fringe, right on the limb there. Okay. Now, while driving to work this morning with the help of morning haze, the sun was a nice shade of pink with two large sunspots clearly visible with the naked eye. The main dark core, AR 3780, and also 3784 are both easy targets for solar observers. Solar activity during the past 24 hours was at moderate levels, and AR 3784 showed signs of growth and produced most of the flare activity as well, including an M1 flare at 1729. Isolated M flares will remain a possibility with both 3780 and 3784, okay? Both of them being the most likely sources. Okay, geomagnetic activity gradually declined to quiet levels as the BZIMF component of the solar wind settled into a north position. Okay, the prospects for storming tonight appear to be dwindling unless we get a little help from the BZ or an unexpected shock passage. Okay, or our BZ is well, our magnetic field hooking up with the BZ. So we'll get into this here in a minute. Also, if you see the Northern Lights in North America, if you live in Canada and the Northern Lights of the United States, it's possible, but now a little less likely with widespread displays. The problem is that the BZ component of the interplanetary connection, our IMF field, our IMF line, has now shifted back to the north, a condition known to suppress geomagnetic activity. It will likely take a solid shift back to the south and get KP back to the strong G3 level. Okay, for now, minor G1 storming remains in the forecast with the chance of moderate G2 storming. Okay, we still have a chance of moderate G2 storming depending on the state of the solar wind. For viewers located further south in the U.S., let us hope that the BZ swings back to the south for a while. It does not hurt to at least take a look just in case. All right, your BZ pointing north, pointing south. It's either hooking up north or south. Okay, so with our grinding and our weakening magnetic field, both these poles are weaker. So when something hits us, it doesn't take much to either if the CME is magnetically hooked up like this, it'll interact with us. If it's opposite, then we're either way. If it's opposite, then we have effects. When it's the same, then it doesn't affect us so much. So let's just kind of go back here. I want to take you back to this right here, right? Is that where we were? Yeah. Okay, so no, we were right here. So you're BZ North right now. Moderate G2 to G3 storm conditions continue. Okay, the component BZIMF component of the solar wind is stuck south pointing for position. That was on the 12th. Okay, okay. So this is over. I was just going to see the reports of our G3 storm watch remains in effect until 1500 UTC, which is 12th. We're way past that. So we got to do some tracking on the tracker. Got to do some track lacking because we're lacking some tracking. Doesn't seem to be much going on here. Nothing much on there either. So let's just back on out. And let's just come on over here now. So the far-sighted sunspots, not just far side, big far-sighted sunspots. And there are two sunspot groups on the far side of the sun, so big they are affecting the way the whole sun vibrates. We've seen that before, haven't we? Maybe it's an object behind the sun right now that's causing effects back there too. All right, sorry, I got critters. I have to check. So, back to this. The two sunspot groups on the far side are so big they're affecting the way the sun vibrates. The helioseismic maps, which are like Well, our seismology for Earth, they're doing the same thing on the sun, and they can see the backside using seismology now. Helioseismology, okay? Helioseismic maps suggest that one of them will turn towards Earth this weekend. The appearance of another big sunspot group should keep sunspot numbers elevated at their current 20-year high. Okay, we just saw a little drop in them. That was good, actually. A strangely magnetized sunspot. All right, this bad boy we're going to read about, the sunspot 37AR40 or 84, is breaking Hale's law. And according to the 100-year-old rule, sunspots in the sun's northern hemisphere should be polarized like this, with a negative on the left and a positive on the right. Instead, AR 3784 is polarized like this, positive on top and negative on the bottom. This magnetic map from NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory shows the 90-degree twist. Something's wrong here. This isn't your normal activity. We need to watch 3784 because it's not lined up right. Okay, now, what does this event mean? Spots do break the law from time to time, and 3% of the time to be exact. Usually they are reversed polarity, which is positive on the left, negative on the right, instead of negative on the left and positive on the right. But sunspot AR 3784 is halfway in between. Okay? Something else is affecting this. And when it's coming around, it's starting to point at us. That tells me something's like either behind us or in between us and the sun, maybe coming through. We'll see. But I hope that thing doesn't fire off right in our face, because that's looking a little dangerous. You know what's nice about the one thing that's okay about this is there's only one positive, one negative. Well, a slight one here. But it's not like you have 100 little ones and 100 the other. Very complex, but still very close proximity. Red and it's literally purple in between those two spots. So that's very, very close, and so ready to have an X flare. So, the magnetic underpinnings of this sunspot are corkscrewing in an unusual way. If the opposite magnetic polarities get twisted together too tightly, there could be an X-class solar flare. Let's just see what together too tightly. Because that's, well, this is going to be an article or an example. And, oh boy, abstract article. Cool. Let's get back to business, shall we? Oh, cool. I left the whole site. All right, well, we're pretty much done with that. Let's just come on over here to this human now. All right, so as you can see, we're having some more grinding events. All right, pressure's building up down below at the barrier. And now I'm going to come over here and pull up this again. All right, here's the core. Here's the outer shell. There's a little barrier right here where they meet. Okay, that gap closes and expands, and that's when we get grinding. And when the core swells and the shell either not collapses, but expands back down onto it, we get our grinding here on the Schumann. And then when this happens, pressure gets relieved. It comes up through the barriers, boom, 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 and then wants to push on the underside of the crust and come out. But the crust is crust. It's like the shell of an egg. It's thin compared to everything else, but it's solid. So this pressure gets held in. It comes squirting out any little perforation it can find on the crust, but there's still so much pressure. All this really thin crust holding all this back. Eventually, you're going to see our plate boundaries are cracks in the shell already of the egg. All right. So we have pressure build up. We started grinding a little bit. Nothing too intense. It's pretty good that it builds up, relieves, We get a little buildup, relief, a slight little buildup, relief. This looks like our natural activity right here, and nothing too intense. I mean, some of these for a second go down here, but it's just squeak and pop. It's not our big, huge grinding session. I don't think we've seen our huge grinding session quite yet because over here, we're just kind of coming out of it right there. It's only been a few hours until we came out of this big event. It takes a minute for pressure to come up through those layers. Whoops, thank you. To come up through those layers and start affecting the crust. We'll see our deeper earthquakes down in this range. That'll 500 kilometers, 600 kilometers deep through there, and then we'll see stuff come up out through the crust. Okay, so let me go. Where I'll go. So there's your Schumann. All right, we just had a pretty smooth day. We had good continuity, and then we had some intensity through the 7.83 hertz range. Okay, that's your Schumann range. That's your normal. So you did feel some of that effect a little bit. It wasn't too bad, but it was still kind of a bumpy day. And we did get hit, and it's already starting to react down there. So I expect we'll see a pretty good grinding session here. It's not over yet. Okay, we're still in that transition process, that burp of pressure coming back up through these levels. So now let's come on over here. Whoops, what happened there? Looks like a big old frog face or something there. All right. Let's come on over here really quick because we got a situation going on over here off the coast of Japan. Two of these things, this one especially getting very intense again. They just got hammered right across there. Now it looks that they might get this one, and then this one might go up here and hit that. We don't know. Weather is very, very tricky these days, but there's two good vortexes right there already spinning in our hot zone area out there. And when we go to that map, you'll see correlations. Whoa, can we have the wind with us? Thank you. Just kind of looking around. What was the other one I wanted to point out? Oh, yeah, here. So check it out. We had our sandstorm coming off here. We saw a break in that sandstorm right here. Now we're starting to see another hurricane forming here. And we have plenty of warm water through here when we do the sand report. In fact, let's just go ahead. With that on the front of your mind, I want to take you to the particulates. Yeah, there you go. And there's your sandstorm. Okay, it's got good continuity, strength, organized. It's still disrupting hurricane production, except for here. This one broke the mold. Remember, we saw that little dip down here. It was enough to let this thing break in, swirl up, break up some of that sand, just enough to create, convection in that area and gain strength. As soon as it can start, gaining strength through convection, you're going to have your hurricane form. So watch out. Here we go. And you can see how it's clearing out the sand. Let me do something like that. See how the sand is lighter? It's taking on the shape of the storm. The storm's throwing it around and dispersing it. It's not as white and dense, compact as this. Here comes another good plume coming off. That's good. Meanwhile, over here, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen, that place is in such deep doo-doo. Iran, Iraq, all over here, sandstorm there. China's still got their issues up in the Gobi Desert. Give me a sip of this. All right. So there's your sandstorm. And I've been doing these sandstorm reports for a while when nobody else has, and now it comes to pay off because it's disrupting our hurricane productivity. We should probably be at like hurricane number 25 or 20 by now that's gone up at the coast and up through the middle that just ravaged that half of the country by now. but it's all been hampered by this sandstorm, thankfully. But like I said, every once in a while we get a little hiccup in it. It gets just enough to cause a burp and get a storm to dissipate some of this sand and kick it out. And then the storm gains strength in that open spot. Oh, boy. So there's your sandstorm. Now let's come on over and do our SO2 report. Okay, and we'll just take off the wind. My bad. I need to slow down here. Just kind of racing through this because I want to get to the spiritual report tonight. All right, here's your country divided. You can see it's bleeding out on the right, on the east coast, and on the other side clear, but, well, peppered with our perforations of the crust where pressure's being relieved. But whoosh, there's your country divided right there. All right, meanwhile, we have, we have a condition where this pressure pushing these hot gases out through the perforations sparks fires. Okay, these fires are being started from underground. This gas comes out, thousands of degree hot. It'll dry the vegetation around the site, and then set it on fire. It'll spontaneously combust because of the heat right nearby it, and it dries out. It's over, and it's on fire. And a lot of these fires being produced because of, well, SO2 emissions. Now, it has started to creep south here into Washington State and down into Oregon now. And let me just kind of take you in a little bit here. Here's that plume where we saw what Mr. MBB showed us, 120-mile long big old shadow. The plume came out of this and left a big shadow on the ground. So they had a small eruption from this site. And since then, it has sparked fires. It's a very intense SO2 plume, okay? And it's so intense it's sparking fires. You see some of these other ones being started over here in Northern California. Actually, that's up still in Oregon, just on the coast maybe. But creeping further south, this activity is creeping. It used to be just up in Canada. Now it's creeping into Washington, Oregon, and, well, down into California. Even out into spots out here in Nevada, this little spot right here. Okay, so as we come down, we look. It was down in here into Mexico for a little while. That kind of seemed that activity kind of seemed to stop. Their fires a little different. They still use them for illumination and cooking and stuff. So, their fires are can be different than what we see in America and up there in Canada. And it's not just there. We come on over to Russia. They're having their issues too. We got to adjust for their time. But you see their sites over here having fires as well. Okay, so be aware. SO2 coming out of the ground can spark fires in your region. Okay, it does have the capacity to do that. It's doing it up at the north right now. You see it traveling, kind of drifting south. So over here, watch out. I mean, you got a lot of SO2 emission sites, right? I don't know about that one. It would have some other ones around it. All right. So there's your fire report, SO2 for North America. Take the fires off now because we want to go jump. Oh, sorry. Travel around Mexico, still enjoying theirs. Cuba, very dark. Jamaica, we know why there's so much SO2 there. All right. Meanwhile, these little sites along the north coast of South America, coming all the way down the coastline, we're seeing darkening here in the central part of South America now. Used to be just kind of the coastline. Now we're seeing these patches here in Central America. I'm sure they're sparking fires as well. Then as we dive in here to our fulcrum point, you can see it's nice and dark. Okay, there we go. Make sure we get right, correct brightness there too. All right, yeah, nice and dark. This one up here darkening up a little bit, so that means more SO2 coming out. Pressure in the area has increased, pushing out more gas. Okay, as we come on down, you can see this little ribbon is kind of shortened up. It used to be a little bit longer, but still a big plume out off the coast. And it's good. It keeps relieving pressure along that plate boundary system right there, keeping magnitudes down. Okay, now as we stop off in Hawaii, someone there I love. Someone in that crater right there that's emitting SO2. Okay, it's doing its job. It's putting some out there instead of having a volcanic event. That's good. I'd rather see that. Over here, Maui started this up, well, probably about a few months back. And Hawaii, of course, has a volcano on it, so we see emissions there. Coming on over. What's the face on the thing today? Okay, good. Whew. Crazy, crazy times we live in, you guys. You understand that, right? All right, let's back up for their time zone. Dive on into China. They're got issues. A lot of SO2 coming out of the ground. Eventually, when we get magma, we run out of SO2 and magma starts squirting up through the perforations, they're going to have some serious magma issues. Most of that's all going to be, well, if they're not careful, it's going to be sinkhole because this gas coming out of the ground removes a lot of dirt. All those little pathways coming up from the lower regions get cleared of dirt, little zigzag pathways all the way up through that the gas makes it. And then eventually water, it rains there, and the water trickles down into those holes, washing even more water or even more of the little crevice away, allowing more gas to blow out, more water to come in, and it just keeps going over and over. So that area, I know how to bring it all to an end. All right. Meanwhile, we have India's issues right here. They have darkened up. It used to be, this pale white color in the middle here, but now they got more intense regions that have darkened up and are spreading this gas, all over, and it can't cross over the Himalayas there, so it just gets trapped in that region. We also have that South American flow, or not South American, but the southern equator, south of the equator flow coming up, the southern fetch coming up. Meanwhile, the same thing's going to happen here in Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, Oman. This gas coming out of the ground is going to keep perforating, and water will go in, perforating more. And, well, sand and water mixed together make for a slurry, and that place could just turn into one big slurry if they're not careful. Meanwhile, up here we got a lot of SO2 emissions out of Europe as well. Okay, they're peppered, and then look at the UK. The UK island still has, it has their issues as well. Even Ireland. Look at Iceland here. Of course, they got two volcanoes going off there, so we're going to see SO2 emissions there. All the activity towards the top of the planet. Remember, we see all these heat signatures up here? Well, now we're starting to see stronger SO2 emissions way up here because, well, we have more heat thermal structures up there. So everybody take a deep breath. We're going to come over to this. Okay. All right. So here we are, same structure going on over here. Actually, it's creeping more. Look at this. It's really creeping inland here over Spain. We got cold water, hot water. You're going to see vortex action in that area real quick. All right, still this, this figurine dude doing its thing. This structure hasn't changed much. It's been pretty much the same. We're starting to see down here is causing problems. Over here on the Pacific now, we got a little bar growing back behind here. See this? This was a big yellow comma for a while. Now our tail has kind of broken off, more organized round structure up at the northern part. This kind of diffusing away, but still there. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still in yellow, but it wasn't just bright, intense yellow. So your comma structure has reduced, meanwhile, concentrating more on the head of the comma up there. Meanwhile, we have Kamumasi spewing lots of hot water, magma, whatever it's doing. It's heating water in that region. And then we got lots of thermal venting going along, over here, Japan. This region down here has kind of quieted down. But what I want to do is come in here to Taiwan because this was our plate boundary fulcrum point and it relieves a lot of pressure in the area. Okay. You see this yellow inundation coming in now to our bay here. This is our fulcrum point. This bay, right where my little yellow arrow is. Now we have yellow inundation, this hot water plumes coming up closer and closer to our fulcrum point. It's locked up or something. It hasn't produced a quake in a while. And now we're seeing the pressure, temperature, correlation, production in that area. Okay. A little yellow growing there. Meanwhile, we have cold water inundation on the backside of Taiwan. That's good, except that's going to create vorticity. Also out here, we got little cold water pockets. Let me back out a little bit for you. We're a little too tight there. Okay, so there's your structure, your thermal structures, Atlantic Pacific. Okay, now for something a little disturbing. That's the North Pole. We're seeing heat signatures all the way up here. Okay. Look how they have stretched all the way up. Look at this whole area. We're going to see ice melting up there. Oh boy. Okay, now it's time for adding the wind. Now this thermal productivity has changed our weather patterns. Our wind conditions and weather patterns are now controlled by the thermals coming off the ocean. Well, they always have been, but now the thermals are so dramatically more intense that they have really taken control more. They're more organized, more powerful. We have this rotation going on out here around this whole structure, feeding the conveyor belt. Okay, the conveyor belt's getting a little wobbly on this side. Look, it's losing its structure. It used to come right up the East Coast, back. So maybe this storm popping up through here is making a little disruption. Okay, we're back to this flow coming up through the Gulf and going straight up through the country. Remember, I was showing you the country divided, and I had my thing right there, and then I went. Whoosh. Well, now the wind's doing that, and once this warm, moist air travels up, it's looking for cold air. It'll just keep going. It'll be hot, moist rain until it hits something cold. Then you're going to see some intensification, your severe weather. So where there's cool air up here is going to change now for a little while, as long as we're in this pattern. Here's the pattern going on, your conveyor belt structure over the Pacific. I'm going to let that sit there for a second. I want what? Oh, no wonder why we have two vortexes going there. Wow. These two storms that we were looking at here. Cooler water right through here, feeding this. All these little cold patches, cooler patches rotating right through there are all feeding that thing. We got hot next to cold feeding that thing. Hot next to cold feeding that thing. Hot next to cold feeding, well, this is more hot next to cold feeding that one. All right, so this pattern has taken over and is dominating our weather now. It has done this feature where it has taken stuff along the west coast, taken it down, and then back out to sea where not much was penetrating and going inland across the country. So that a little bit's making it across. This cold water inundation is kind of allowing a little bit to go around the end of the Sierras and over the northern part of the Sierras here, creep around to get in there, but a little bit. But all in all, this whole region right here is like no weather, while all the violent weather is going to be riding that conveyor belt. Okay, if you're on this conveyor belt structure right here, I would start paying attention because this setup, that flow, is going to create problems here pretty soon. Probably already is. All right, so there's your structure setup for today. I wanted to. Wow, this is quite the like little clockworks. A gear turning this way, gear turning that way, one going, in between up here. Here we are. This region used to be all hot on the west coast of Alaska, but now it's all cold water. So here's cold water coming down from through the straits. Look, you can see it's being pulled through the straits into this region. You got cold and you got hot. You got cold and you got hot. They're like fighting for which one's gonna rotate here pretty soon. So we're gonna have to watch that carefully. Meanwhile, sorry, I keep jumping all over the place. This is concerning for the West Coast. All right, we need to see more earthquake activity out here. In fact, I think we did because we're starting to see this cold water barrier reach further and further out. So the more quake activity we have in here will reassure this cold water barrier and kind of keep this at bay, at least keep it out there. So we're going to keep that structure right there as we go into the earthquake report now. Okay, so zooming on in, our deep quake zone. Come over here. Yeah, 4.4, but it's down at 216. It's not all that deep. That's like a subsurface quake. So mid-range 4, a 4.8, down at 56, just a little deeper. Okay, or a little shallower. Sorry, that was 2. Yeah, 216. Yeah, and this is at 58, so a lot shallower, but 4.8 right along that area. This little island relieves pressure. It emits SO2 as pressure comes into the plate boundary system. Remember, this is a crack in the surface of the planet already. So pressure coming up wants to anywhere along this crack. It's already the path of least resistance, right? The entire crack. But right here, where the pressure boils up or burps up from down below, well, that's the first crack right there that it wants to express or achieve its relief point. But this thing is diminishing that pressure relief right there. So it travels on up. We see volcanic activity through that region. We come over here. We got finally get our 5.1 at the surface here on the plate boundary. Yep, right on the plate boundary. That's already the crack, already a weak spot. So that's where we're going to see pressure relieve is along plate boundaries and fulcrum points, especially fulcrum points. This island hasn't seen activity in a while. So bingo. Here we go. Please pop that up. Another 4.8. So similar magnitude that we saw further back there. This is shallower. This is down under the island there. So 4.8 there. Let's come on over here. 4.3 at the surface. And this. Okay, all volcanic islands all through here. Okay, you understand that? Look at this little seamount, this little like underwater nipple type effect right there. That's on at the foot of this seamount. That's down at 10, but still that's this little guy coming to life showing earthquake activity right at the surface, right at its at the base of it. We have our plate boundary coming to an end right here. This crack It's basically a crack in the crust right there. And it comes to an end. A lot of pressure coming along this crack. So right in the middle here, we got our little weak zone. Pressure released right there. We'll have to watch that spot. That's a good little spot to watch right there. Yesterday we saw quake activity off of Java because it's relieving a lot of pressure, but not enough. Here we are today at Sumatra with a 4.6 at 70 here. So this, I gotta take a peek, guys. It's out in the water. Okay, our weak zone. Okay, this is all this water, all this dirt, sand on the ocean floor is super saturated with water too. Okay, so it's a weak zone. It has a tendency to slough if it's on a slope. Okay, and it'll trigger earthquakes in that weak zone. It's not on the plate boundary. It's not really at the foot of these islands, so that looked like a little weak zone quake there. Let's do the Pacific side, shall we? Over here, 4.8, Northern Mariana Islands, down at 10. That's not on the plate boundary, but that's another surface quake. 4.8 magnitude being relieved at the surface. 4.8 seemed to be the theme today. 4.7 at the surface right there, almost. Nothing around that peninsula. We'll get into America at the end. No fulcrum point quake here. We come over to the Gobi Desert. Guys, keeping up with me? Good. 4.1 down at 9 and a 4.6 at 10. So two surface quakes here at China in the Gobi Desert. This desert you can see used to be a body of water, and when water is so dense and so heavy, it sits on this. It compacts the floor of the ocean or the seabed. This little seabed is all compacted from water sitting on top of it for eons, right? Well, it gets very dense and it doesn't allow the SO2 to come out in this region. But right at the fringe where the weak zone is where you start to see your SO2 emissions and your quake activity. This little structure is like almost like a foothill running along there. The weak zone right on the inside. And bingo. See, this weak zone kind of runs down through there. It's not very good coloration, Brian. There we go. I wish I had a professional setup. Oh, millions of dollars they waste in Hollywood, and I got a cell phone and a laptop. Let's get her done. All right, no fulcrum points. I watch this region right now. They're gonna might be surprised with a big quake in that region. Meanwhile, 4.5 up here in Croatia at the surface here. We take a little peek at this surface feature. Sorry, we gotta do it. Doesn't look too intimidating. That's just your diverse quake for the day. Not typically where we see them, and we do every once in a while, but kind of caught those people off guard today. All right. Lots of quake activity going on up here at Iceland. Probably all along this, we're just not seeing it reported or whatever. Meanwhile, over here, South America, this is that spot where we had our big quake and we've seen the reduction in SO2 emissions in this area. Here we go, same spot, our path of least resistance, our weak spot, all right, that we have picked out because of certain reasons. We picked this spot out for a reason because it had a big quake and a swarm activity that produced a major drop in SO2 emissions. Thus, it labeled itself as a weak spot or a path of least resistance. And here we go again. When pressure comes in, it's doing a great job at 5.3 at the surface. This is the kind of activity we want to see. All right. It's not too damaging. All right. But it's relieving a fair amount of pressure and at the surface. Okay. Fulcrum's right here, so just on the other side of the fulcrum, it's still almost a fulcrum point quake, 4.5 down at 5. All right, so we still have it up there? Yeah, we can do that. Right. Okay, I used to show this every day, all these little purple dots that were all through this area right here. Well, they're gone now. Each one of these sites is an individual site, by the way. They're not a plume from one site. All these little pixels as we go up are all individual sites, and they used to be a lot more and very dense around this area right here. And you see the lightening up now. It's yellow or whatever. There's hardly any. We got our fulcrum point with a lot of pressure right next to it, but this area has been relieved, and that's our same region where we're seeing our quake. Okay, so don't be surprised in the future when we see more pressure come in from like this next round. We don't be surprised we see another quake here. You know, mid range 5 to a 6. Okay, that's our weak spot. That's a weak spot. Okay, now let's get on into America. America. Does it bug you when I do that? It shouldn't. All right, nothing at Fulcrum. As we come on in, these islands kind of quiet. We get a little bit of activity, microquaking at these islands, a little bit here and there. Speckled one's not going to get into them. Right here, though, 3.6 magnitude, 2.3. That's not on the plate boundary. Okay, up here finally 3.5. So mid range 3 activity. Bing, bing, both sides of this plate boundary. 3.5, 3.5. As we come up through here, 3.3, pretty darn close. Fulcrum points, multiple fulcrum points here. Okay, one underwater right here, the actual red line plate boundary, the bay itself, the mountains behind the bay, the mountains behind those mountains, the mountains behind those mountains, and the mountains behind those mountains. There's multiple. You can see how this underwater push, like if this was all clay and I push my finger up like that, ripples would form out in front of it, much like a shovel pushing snow. Snow. 2.9, so still around 3 magnitude. That was the 3.3. Okay, it's inside fulcrum, right on the plate boundary. Okay, a little activity coming down there. Now let's get into some Juan de Fuca, shall we? Part y'all been waiting for. Bingo. A 3.0 and down at 10, and right next to it, 2.5. I want timestamps, please. 16, yes, and our little aftershock, I guess. They're very interesting structure through this area. Okay, you see all these pressure waves that have built up over time from these two things pushing against each other, right? And grinding and popping up. See how this little hourglass type structure of pressure waves have built up right there, backed up from those two things pushing against each other so hard the waves are backed up like this. You see that tear? Well, that shape right there. Fulcrum point, very weak spot right there. You see the same pressure wave effect right here at this fulcrum point, very weak spot right there. Okay, all that pressure is creating these little pressure waves, little ridges under the water, right? And on this side, it's on the inside of the Juan de Fuca plate. It's on the Juan de Fuca plate itself, not the Pacific plate, is our quake activity. So, pressure coming in this way, pushing, we got pressure coming up from underneath, right? So these two things are backed up. Now something underneath pushes, and it comes up right along the plate boundary, right in these ripple zones. Okay, you got to remember this. This pressure is like coming from the back of the screen, out of the screen at you, at the camera. All right, so imagine this thing popping up and bulging up like my hand. All right. Well, when it bulges up with pressure, those little pressure ridges we're going to give. Also, I want to take this moment right now to go right like this back to our thermal, please, Lord. Deep breath. Okay. We had two quakes right here on this pocket of the lower pocket of the Wanda Fuca, just off our fulcrum point right there, right? So we come out here. Here's our fulcrum point right here. Here's our pocket. See that earthquake allowed this cold water inundation to creep further out there. Look at this. It matches it perfectly. We even had a fulcrum point quake, which helps a lot. 2.3, even though it's not a big magnitude, it's at a fulcrum. Okay, the energy that comes out of the fulcrum points is a little different because it's relieving at a weaker spot. Okay, so those three quakes right there combined. See, here's, let me go in really quick and help you guys. This little point right here, whoops. Okay. This little point right here on the top of California is our fulcrum point. Okay. There's our fulcrum point right there. Wanda Fuca comes out, zigzags up, right along that right there. Don't be surprised we see quake activity out here, even though pressure's being relieved out here. Okay. Here's the patch of area where we're seeing a lot of that heat come from. See all these seamounts on the ocean floor? Look at all these. A bunch of these could be spewing hot water, steam, actual magma. Some could be even venting materials even down deeper. The cryolite, your nickel and cesium, which would be radioactive. Okay, so we need more of this activity right here. We could use some of it up on this region to relieve pressure up in there as well. Okay, now let's get into this. We had a low quake activity up here in the Puget Sound area, Rockport, Washington, 1.8. I'm looking for activity at volcanic sites. Here's Mount St. Helens with a couple of quakes, nothing big, but that's activity at a volcanic site. Indication of pressure down below. I love this right here. Finally, we got a relief of pressure and we're seeing results from it. Okay. I love that. All right, now let's come over here. We got activity at the North Valley, Red Bluff. Oh no. We got dear friends there. 2.3. They're okay. But still, activity in that area is indication of a weak spot there. It's not a big quake, but we've been seeing stuff here at the North Valley for a minute now. Pressure comes in. It doesn't want to turn the corner, so it drives inland a little bit. Bingo. Little quake right there. It's not much. But right here at the geysers, see these red dots? We're currently having 1.3, 1.2, a little micro quaking, and current activity means pressure is being relieved as we speak. Is someone relieving themselves as we speak? No, I'm joking. Little activity at the top of the lake. Here's quite a little flurry going on down here. Well. Let's come back to that really quick. I just want to finish up your San Andreas. Pretty quiet. Few little pops and clicks here. I want to come into this one. Our quake swarm area down here. No current activity, but still 2s, 2.4, 2, 2.1. Okay, so decent magnitude. Not big ones. Can't feel them, but 2 is not a microquake. It's decent activity, still continuing to swarm out at that region. Now, the rest of this, our other quake swarm area, It's still kind of rocking and rolling here, you guys. Nothing too big, but you see that red one's current activity. 2.3, 1.4, our current one, 1.4 as well. All right, so the big one today was a 2.3, but all of these combined is still relieving energy. That place is still a weak spot. You guys understand? That's a new weak spot right there. Not a good location for it either. Let's pray it just keeps micro quaking and doesn't will stop for a while and then all of a sudden pop with a big one. That is on the Pacific plate too. It's not on the other on the continental plate. Now let's come into this region here. What has happened here? We have seen a stripe. This is like a fracture almost. Starts off with this 4.413 Indian Springs. You guys are making fun of me? Uh-oh. We have, I thought maybe they were practicing some bombing, but we have what appears to be some kind of fracture zone going a little here, because these are all lining up in a very odd fashion in this valley right here too. And look at what we have down below. All kinds of population. Is that Lake Havasu? Oh, yeah. Wow. So here we are at, what, Bullhead City, Lake Havasu? Las Vegas. Activity outside there, 4.4, and a quake swarm going on here. This is interesting. This is going to be a new area to watch. 1.6s, ones. Okay, nothing too big. Yeah, they're all a bunch of ones, but definitely something going on here. That looks like almost like a. You remember out in this region? I think it was over here. We saw a crack, a fissure opened up, some earthquake, and then a crack opened up in the ground out there, and we had swarming around that crack. This almost kind of resembles that structure right there. There's another one. All right, we'll have to watch this area closely. This is just south of me, so I'm gonna be rocking and rolling here soon too. All right, moving on. We got Texas stuff to cover, or New Mexico. Not much, but 2.1 in Texas. This is where Creighton 1.5 in Crowder, Oklahoma. This is your Creighton coming up and going back down. That's on the boundary, and there's activity on the other side. So we had 1.5 on that side, and we have 1.5 on this side. 1.2, 1.5 on that side. So pressure building along the Creighton, relieving on both sides of it, same magnitude. I'll have to watch that for a little while now. Also, it shifted up here. The whole thing shifted a little bit. 1.6, that's basically the same magnitude. 1.5, 1.6, right through that whole Creighton area. So that whole area shifted a little bit. I have to watch that now, too. We got another path of least resistance. Hopefully nothing big. All right, magnitude check 3.5. It's still a little high for that area. Dive into Hawaii just really quick here. We got to check the hub, and it's quake swarming. Please, Lord, can we have just a magnitude check of one of them? 2.2, maybe two of them. Okay, twos. Yeah, Mainly twos today. One off the island here is just small. Yeah, another two. So a bunch of two activity. All right, those aren't microquakes either. Those are a bunch of twos. So the hub of the Pacific Rim, if it were a bicycle rim, that would be the hub where all the spokes come together. Also ventilates pressure as well, and a bunch of little quake swarming is better than a big volcanic blast out of it. All right, bingo, we're done. Start Xing out of some of this stuff now. Oops. All right, that's good. I will keep this one up for just for reference here. Okay, do you guys understand this diagram? Kind of help make more sense a little bit. Maybe if I darkened it a little bit so you can see the barrier, because the barrier in between the shell. This is the core, the outer core or the shell, the main core in the middle. And let's just do this really quick. This video. Can we slide it back here a little bit? Play this. All right, you see the field line spinning because the core is spinning. Okay, it's polarized. The south and north poles, like a magnet, it's polarized. So these barriers, these magnetic field lines that keep coming out like this, each level has a different frequency. So these objects that would come in, say this is the sun, because the sun has the same magnetic field lines, okay? It would come in and would, one of these barriers probably right up next to it, so strong that it's charged south, but the polarity of the actual planet or the sun right there is north, and it grabs the object and strips it away from the other solar system or from the other magnetic grip. This magnet overpowers the other magnet, grabbing onto, say this is one of the smaller orbs right there, this little dot. This would be a smaller magnet. So this magnet would pull a smaller magnet away from a bigger magnet. You see what I'm saying? That's what's happening here. And then it would come in, be attracted until it reaches a certain polarity, and then be repelled and shoot off. It doesn't just, stop. It hits and shoots off. I think some of these find one of these barrier lines, and they'll come out, they'll hit a barrier line and stop and then move back in. We've seen that before too. Okay, so this torus field structure, magnetic field, is produced because your core is spinning inside the shell, emitting this out of the core. When heat comes in from the outside, hits this field line, it gets directed to the poles. The poles direct it down to the core being made out of metal. When metal heats, it expands. This barrier being made out of probably metal, it might be in a phase it's molten but solid. It's under such pressure that you can't penetrate it, yet it's still in a liquid form. It would be it's almost another phase of matter. It could possibly be this barrier, whatever it's made out of. All right, now this barrier, this shell, if you took the core out of it, would be hollow, right? It would be a hollow little spheroid with the empty spot in the center if you took the core out, right? So when this grinds on this hollow structure resonates and shakes, giving a hollow sound because of its structure. It's shaped like a curved, hollow instrument itself. So when it resonates and pulsates, it has a hollow sound to it. That hollow sound emanating up through these barriers and then hitting the crust and coming out of the crust emanates out into space. It hits one of these magnetic field lines in our ionosphere and bounces back down in the form of our grinding on the Schumann resonance. It also makes the skyquakes. All right, the noises in the sky, the trumpet blasts, and those groans and peaks and squeals and stuff are all the metal squealing on a hollow metal sounding thing. And those vibrations, low vibrations, mind you, 1, 2, 3, hertz, those low frequencies comes emanating up through and then hits the crust and emanates out through the crust. Okay. Good little display right there of how what I'm trying to describe to you so you can really kind of wrap your mind around it, okay? How all this works. If I was gone someday and you guys wanted to run your own show, you could. You would have enough knowledge now. You'd probably blow the professors at Harvard away. Okay? They'll be like, how'd you know that? Where'd you find that out at? We didn't even know that. So, all that grinding creates these higher frequency. Well, it's a low frequency, but it's intense. Okay, this is 0 going through 40. So we're at 1, 2, 3 hertz, but very intense. See what I'm saying? And that hollow sound, that from the sky, comes from this thing right here, from this boundary, vibrating, resonating. Okay, sorry. Now we can X out of that. And we can get rid of the Schumann. Once that goes, please, Lord, can we get rid of the Schumann? We will keep that one for the weather report. Switch over to that, please, so we can X out of this and pull up a volcano report. All right, thank you for your patience here, you guys. All right, we're getting to the good stuff. Let me get this out of the way, and then we'll get to our spiritual report. Some of you are still like this part too, so please, Lord, can we have this? Thank you. 34 erupting, 30 in the morning. That means they're still active, and 26 at unrest. Okay, a lot of us are at unrest, but that's why we do the spiritual report. 64 volcanoes currently active or erupting. 7 years ago when this started happening to me, almost 7 years ago, if I'd have told you back then we had one active volcano, if I had told you back then we'd have 64 7 years later, you would have said, Brian, you're crazy. Well, here we are, almost 7 years later, and we got 64 and more on the ocean floor. And that makes me even crazier about you. Crazier about you. Yep. All right, let's get into it. Here we are, 14th. Little chart for this is inflation episode said Iceland, okay? The first time inflated like that had an eruption. Second time inflated like this had an eruption. Third time, each time was a solar event, created pressure down below, and then finally built up and it erupted and relieved the pressure. Then we had another solar event. The pressure built up and it erupted. Each one of these coincides, and they're like, what's going on here? This seems to be following a pattern. Pattern of the sun, yeah. Meanwhile, look at our latest one. It's really going to town. This one really drew out for a while. Now this latest one's drawing out even longer. Interesting now. Svarensky, there we go. Deformation suggests that the area beneath Svarensky continues to swell at a slower rate. Swell from down below, lifting up, swelling. Yeah, inflation of the ground surface in volcanic area results from stress changes in the crust due to accumulation of magma. Well, the pressure of the magma pushing up. Or the exsolution of gas. I like that term. Exsolution. Maybe I'll use that as a title. One of my shows. Exsolution. All right. IBU at 8,000 feet. Semaru, 15, doing its duty. Tucono, 8,000. Reventador, possible VAM, yes. Sabancaya, 23,000. And that was just recently. because it just turned the 4th. Okay, so let's go into today, which is now yesterday, because, well, time flies at this channel, man. I'm telling you. You guys are so much fun. You're good sports, you're not. It's hard to find anymore, too. Okay, back to IBU, 8,000, same one. Luatobi, 10,000. There's a little higher blast right there. Semaru maxing at 15. Don't get hit by a semi in one of those. Don't hit a squirrel in one of those. You might total it. Okay, there we go. 15,000. That was Semaru. White Island now erupting. Okay. 3,000 foot plume out of White Island, New Zealand. Yep, it's erupting. Popocatépetl had a 20,000 foot blast today. That's right next to Mexico City. 20,000. 21 out of Songay in Ecuador, Reventador in Ecuador, Sabancaya in Peru, 21,000 feet. There's some wood. Chainsaws. A chainsaw would be a good thing to get as far as a prepping tool or something, because high winds we're going to experience in the future. Okay. How many times has the road flooded out, high winds come up, and a tree fell across the road and trapped people in the neighborhood? I'm telling you, chainsaws, 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 and little gas cans so you can keep those suckers going, because you're going to be cutting wood, you're going to be cutting trees out of the way, you're going to be cutting debris out of trenches, let water flow. Chainsaws, chainsaws, chainsaws. And if you're tired of heavy chainsaw, this little old tool cuts it twice as fast. Get one of them. I wish I could. I would if I could. Sakurajima sneaking in there. That was the 12th. Never mind. All right. Even quicker. We're getting to the other forecast real quick. While this is loading up, take a minute to thank you guys for being so loyal, being so patient, and so tolerant that you put up with all this scientific blah, 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 blah to get to the spiritual report. So we're practicing patience, and you guys are doing really good at your practicing. So well done at that. I used to have this patience where I could stand in line at the bank all day, whistling a tune, and still not get my money and laugh on the way out the door. Now somebody's in my way. Oh my goodness, I'm having trouble maintaining my composure. So we got to practice our salvage skills. Okay. Meanwhile, now that it's all loaded up, let's bang this out. All right. What we saw was a bunch of loading. Let's let this play. Oh dear. Most of this tail end stuff is all subject to change. I really want to just get to the first 72 hours or so. Yeah, that's all a bunch. We're already way past it. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is our storms that are going on currently, because it says we're still G1, but we're at KP a little bit higher than 4, so we're not at G1. But we still have the capacity for G1 on the 14th. All right, so we'll gently add that into the mix, all right? So, nighttime of the 13th, we still have severe weather back here in this region, okay? Here's the morning of the 14th where we could possibly still see some geomagnetic enhancement. There's the noontime convection. Now, the end of convection with possible geomagnetic enhancement, if this is G1, we're not going to see much enhancement. If it jumps to G3, G4, or, changes, we can see more enhancement. So enhancement levels kind of depend on the G level as well, okay? So G1 enhancement possible at convection here in Minnesota, and then creeping up into Canada. I showed you that warm, moist air coming up here. It doesn't meet cold air until way up here. See what I'm saying? So you guys in the cold air region, I would start watching your skies very closely throughout the course of your day. Learn what a wall cloud looks like. Now, here we go into the nighttime. We saw that convection with possible enhancement on this day if it compacts together into this type structure right here, we could see a big derecho, severe tornado activity in Iowa there. Okay. And that takes up a good southern half of the state. All right. One little hiccup, one little, see this low pressure, one little hiccup. If it's 1 degree back here, that changes this by 100 miles. If it's 1 degree north, it'll lift it 100 miles. This whole area just be on high alert. Okay. And what I'm telling you here, this boom, boom, comes together like that. We have more particulates in the air, therefore more things for water to adhere to, creating more raindrops. So the more particulates, the more raindrops. Well, we have a lot of moisture evaporating off the oceans into the air. It becomes water vapor. It becomes part of the air. So the air has a higher concentration of water vapor plus a higher concentration of particulates. Thus, we have higher concentrations of moisture out of each storm. Stronger storms, higher cloud tops, stronger tornadoes, stronger winds, stronger lightning, everything, larger hail. Okay, this event right here, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this because this is well within time. This is actually tomorrow night at this time out here in Iowa. We could be reporting on something different on the show tomorrow night instead. Let me just kind of real quick. I know, sorry, got to do this part. It's important too, guys. That take seriously. Do not take it just from me. Go to some other weather streamers that have better radar apps and more time to articulate to you the severity, how it's going to come together. But I'm telling you, tomorrow night, watch out in that region. Depending on how this low follows the same path and goes right along that trajectory, that's where it will happen. And also, I don't think they're adding into this the enhancement. If all of a sudden there was another object that didn't produce a CME that still comes by and kicks off an enhancement of our G storm, hopefully it stays this way and stays at G0, and there is no enhancement of that, and it just stays that way. Could you imagine if this had enhancement to it? Okay, so let's pray it stays that way, but it has the capacity. Even this one, the shit trialing back in here. You see this line coming down here? It's warmer, but don't count that out. It could, if this thing dropped just a little bit lower, it could bring colder air just a tad bit further south. So don't just take it from me. Go watch some of your other weather reporters as we get closer and closer to tomorrow night there in Iowa. All right. I fear let's all start praying for that region. And if you got people in that region, tell them to be alert. Sorry, got to do it. Morning of the 15th, still severe weather. That should be the end of our geomagnetic storm now, hopefully. It dissipates through the noon time, kind of burns off a little bit, but there's still by convection. And then going into nighttime here, some red. That's another hatch risk day after tomorrow night. Okay, so meanwhile, this thing out there grinding away, don't even worry about it. It's out here. I'm more worried about this stuff that's going on centrally here. Morning of the 16th, still chances in there. Noon, convection again. You see this low rotating here. It's acting like its own little low pressure or its own little storm thing. Comma shape down here at the tail. Watch out, nighttime of the 16th. So we have the next 3 nights. Here's right now. Just small little chances there. Morning, noon, convection tomorrow night. Morning of the 15th, noon, convection day after tomorrow night. Morning of the 16th, noon, convection the day after tomorrow night. Again down in here. Morning of the 17th, noon, convection, nighttime. See, all this stuff starts to blossom here. There's no seriousness down here in maybe Mexico, but still little pockets there just to watch out for. Anything past this is really kind of getting outside our 3-day window. because we don't know what solar activity will happen, from now on or whatever. So we're just going to take these and just start rattling them off. Morning of the 18th, noon, convection, nighttime, 19, noon, convection, nighttime, 20, noon, convection, nighttime. You see how this blossoming at night kind of effect happening? Morning of the 21st, noon, convection, nighttime. See, nighttime blossom again. Morning of the 22nd. It's because at nighttime there's cooler air. Morning of the 22nd, noon, convection, nighttime. 23rd, noon, convection, nighttime. 24, noon, convection, nighttime. 25, noon, convection, nighttime. 26, noon, convection, nighttime. 27, noon, convection, nighttime. This region over and over again here in Mexico just get washed out. So watch out in there. That's noon, 28, convection, nighttime, 29, noon, convection, and that was all she wrote. All right, so the next 3 nights, pay attention really quick. Morning of the 14th, noon, convection. This convection right here I'm concerned about because if we have any kind of geomagnetic activity, all of that area, maybe even trailing down this little thing a little bit possibly as well. Tomorrow, convection, and tomorrow night, this event here in Iowa, let's pray it doesn't get out of control, turn into derecho with a bunch of tornadic activity involved in it too, okay? Hopefully it doesn't get too bad right there. The nighttime of the 14th. Now that would be 12 or 11, 12, 1 in the morning. So that would catch them off guard. Most people would be asleep by then. All right, so anybody in that area tomorrow, watch this weather as it blossoms throughout the day. And then as we go, the morning you'll still have residual, still really heavy rains through that region. Convection, not so much thunderstorms, but then at nighttime, pop-ups getting intense here, a little step down there. And then the nighttime of the 16th down in Alabama. All right, those are your next 3 days worth of events. Anything after that is a little beyond the forecast. So hope you enjoyed all the astrophysics, geophysics, all the workings of our planet and our sun. Now it's time for the metaphysics, the workings of your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Because what we're looking at is very, very disturbing and can be, cause anxiety and stuff. So what we need to do is take a little break from all that, realize that all of this stuff is really all just simply part of the process. Okay, and you are on the good side of the process, so you can breathe a sigh of relief, where a lot of other people right now are taking deep breaths of anxiety. And I wish they all knew how to deal with them like you guys do, because it would make it a lot better on everybody and on me. Are we going to do this or not? Thank you, Google. All right. Here we go. Starting off with some imagery while I get rid of some of the instruments in the background. All right, and we got some other stuff to pull up my YouTube page real quick. You guys are being so patient, and I got some good stuff for reading, so go ahead and, while I'm doing this, get your sodas, get your snacks, get comfortable, get your partner, get in your car, get your dog, get your cat, curl up on the bed, curl up next to the fire, go outside on the grass, sit in your comfortable chair, lay down on the couch, take a deep breath. Whatever it is you do, let's get ready. Okay, I need to take a deep breath. It's been go all day. Pull up some videos. And these are old videos. I don't do videos anymore. They took too long to download, and then I could only keep a video under 4 minutes. That take 2 hours to download, so a lot of these are older videos. This is stuff that happened along the way. All right. I graduated from doing these little videos like this to, live streaming every night and doing earthquake volcano reports and Folks, welcome back. Here, let's just listen to that for a second. The clouds yesterday, and I noticed let that play for a second. I'll be right back. Clouds. Got critters. It looked like a face over here, and I'm gonna start zooming in on this face because it's a real face. And if you look back behind it here, let's zoom in just a little bit. You'll notice that back behind here, this face is being projected by Jesus's heart right here. You can see it radiating out. Here's Jesus's face. He's pulling open his shirt, exposing his heart. His heart's radiating out this image in the sky. See this face here? And there's a crown right here. Also in the etherical, in black, there's another crown right here. Anyways, I just wanted to show you this picture. Isn't this amazing? And this face, I recognize this face. I know who this is. I know who this face is. I see him every morning in the mirror. That's not all. I got another one. And a few moments later, in this image, I took a picture of the same cloud, but this is at a different angle. I rotated it 90 degrees. I want you to look right up in here. You can see that there's a face, two eyes, smile, here's the head. And the arms are outstretched, and he's holding a cell phone taking pictures of the sky. This is an image of me taking the pictures of the clouds. So the clouds are now mimicking me taking pictures of them. Pretty crazy. Imagine if this stuff was happening to you and nobody believed you. To the right a little bit and you can... All right, so imagine if this stuff was happening to you and nobody believed you. That's the weird part. Is like, I have all this evidence and nobody would even go look. Now there's several doctors that are shaking their heads going, oh my goodness, can't believe I had to deal with that guy. So do you here, take a peek in the chat real quick. Say hi, thank you to Tina and Leslie, Tiger's Eye, and Jimmy. Thank you, Leslie. Oh, and Hop and Sin, my favorite. Hi, sweetie. All right. Yeah, I just want to thank a few people and ask a quick question of you guys. This is partially your show. Would you like me to just start reading now and wrap it up, or would you like to see more of the history, more of the spiritual realm? Do you guys want to see more of the spiritual realm stuff? Or do you want me to just start reading? Take a quick poll. I know it takes a minute for the live stream to actually reach you guys, so I'll wait for a second and let you guys see what you want to do. Want me to show you some more angels? You want to see Mary? Do you want to see more spiritual stuff? Do you want to see UFOs? I got all kinds of different faces in the clouds. Activity that's just off the hook. We also have that face that's out by the moon. And where's the video? Let's just do the video of that real quick here while you guys are kind of thinking about what you want to do. Follow me. Yeah, there we go. We can show that ad.
In this world, the light will overcome darkness.
Amen. That's you guys, the chosen. All right, let's skip the ad, please. YouTube, come on now. There we go.
There's the moon. Oh, I lost it. There it is. There. Been catching this thing for a while now.
Yeah, listen to this man's testimony.
29th, I have got me a better quality camera to catch this thing in the sky. And holy moly, I am scared. I'm scared, but I'm not going to trip because I've been catching this thing for a while now. It's very ominous.
Leap day, by the way.
There he is. There he is. There he is. There he is. It's a huge face.
What is that?
Looking right down on us. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit brighter. There he is. There's the moon. Oh, I lost it. There it is. Let's see if I can get a better picture on the moon like it's supposed to. Is my hand in front of the thing or something?
Okay, so
Here we go.
that's a auto zoom on a camera. That's an expensive
There it is.
camera.
Look at that.
Yep, there it is. There it is.
What is that?
Oh, it makes it so clear.
There it is.
That's disturbing for a lot of people who don't understand what's going on. That's what it is. It can be very disturbing for people who don't understand. And you guys got a big head start on them. You do. All right, we're going to pull up that face because here they've like enhanced it, freeze framed it. And I want to pull that up for a reading too because that's my face as well, showing up next to the moon. Pretty crazy stuff. All right, fine. Yeah, I want that chat thing out of the way. There we go. So we get full screen. All right. And when that was happening, I was doing a reading at the end of a show to you guys when this gentleman took this video of my face halfway lit because I have a book light that lights my face when I'm reading to you guys. So there's one of our images. That's my face. I recognize my face again out by the moon, just like I recognize my face here in the clouds. And I recognize the clouds mimicking me. That's what it was like. What's going on? Wait a second. They're mimicking me and making my face now with a crown. But my face of the crown is actually coming from Jesus's heart. Well, it's because of who I am. Okay? Hopefully you understand this. It's because of who I am. I showed you the birthmark on the side of my chest. I also have matching birthmarks on my feet. Yeah, that's a different one I've showed you before too. But we don't need to go into my ugly feet. We're going to stick with these beautiful images right here that cost me dearly, a lot of pain to capture this event on Easter. Okay, so that's why we pull these up. This is your foundation, okay? Each one of these pictures is one right after another, the best I could. I turn away, there was another event unfolding in the other side of this mountain. This is a hill. You see this hill, here's the other side of it right there. And let me tell you something. Not too long ago, I had an incident where I got homeless, okay? And the place I got dished out at was at the base of this hill. And I knew that if I camped out here, I'd be okay at the base of this hill. And I knew I would be delivered. I knew it. And sure enough, a couple days, a couple weeks, well, it was more like a couple months, but I got delivered and now I'm back home and it was an adventure, but I knew when I was at the base of this mountain and how everything unfolded and I got delivered right there, I knew it was for a reason and that I would be delivered from there. So very important, this location and this event as well. So nobody ever said, do a reading. Nobody ever said, do some more. Well, we'll pull up a few more craziness. Why not? Because there's a lot of this stuff is satisfying for your soul, okay? This is for your peace of mind. It's not about, hey, look at me, I'm all this, I'm all that. I'm kind of a big deal, but I don't go around saying that, or acting that way.
Her headdress is coming over and going down.
It's odd how everybody else, in Hollywood, well, I'm kind of a big deal. It's like, dude, you wouldn't know a big deal if you had met one. So,
Till I was digging around through my, my old.
We're going to pull up this image for a second.
even further back to see if I'd missed anything, and I captured this one. And we're gonna zoom in to this streak right up here, this one right here.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Just bear with me.
Right there, you can see the baby's head pretty well. Can you see the lady and the baby right there pretty well? Without zooming in anymore, because that kind of captures it right there. All right. Something magical happened that night. I had no idea what was going on. All right. But, well, this little thing, this little baby is the new spirit inside of me. Okay. And from this moment on, my life turned backward, forward, upside down, and more than anything, inside out. It's as if I have all my nerve endings on the outside of my skin now instead of inside my body. It's well, it's a pretty strange effect, but ever since this, okay, there's reassurance right there. There's your Revelation 12 baby being born in my presence, in my garage. Okay, this thing, well, is now part of me. Okay, and that should be reassuring right there. Okay, then the following night, this, after posting the wake up call video, this is what happened here. We'll just let this play for a second. You guys will enjoy these images as well.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back. So I've been going through some of the old photos and running them through the filter, and this was one of the first ones that I had ever captured. And what's going on here is I'm here on my knees. I'm crying and screaming and praying, all three at once. I was in some extreme anguish. A paranormal traumatic event happened to me. Something
That baby.
so unbelievable, you guys wouldn't believe it.
Having that entity enter me and not knowing about it, and then all of a sudden this weird activity happening.
So if I told you, so I'm going to show you instead.
Yeah, so you wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm going to show you instead, because this ordeal, I captured and documented a lot of this activity. Here's October 5th, 2017. This is just after the Revelation 12 star alignment. The baby was the night before on October 4th. The next night, this happened. That baby entered me. I did the wake up call video. Then afterwards, I was relieved, stressed. Every single emotion you can imagine and ones that you can't, rushing, coursing through your veins. It's just so extreme.
Image here. I'm sitting here praying, and Mary's head appears right next to my head, and we're going to zoom in on this. You can't go in too tight on it, but she's looking down at my head this way. Let's see, there's pretty good. And you can make out her eye and her nose coming down, her shawl coming over, and it's in shadow right here. This is a shadow of the inside of her shawl going over her head like this. Here's her eye, her nose, her other eye would be on the other side there. Okay. You can't go in too tight on it. And then also is this white ball with an eye in it, this white orb with an eye in it. Okay, and that's not all, because over here in this corner up here is an angel, the silhouette of an angel with his wings spread, with his back to us, standing in a shaft of light. Here's his head. There's a glow over the head. The wings are extended, and there's a feather coming off. The last feather coming off is crossing over these brown roof tiles in the background here. And you can make out there's an angel right here, and you can even see his head right here. Going a little bit tighter. So there's the angel with his back to us and his wings spread. Yeah, you can see a lot better with the filter. Before it was really faint and it was hard to see. Same with this. This came out a little bit better here. Yeah, there's Mary looking down at my head because I was in anguish. I mean, what happened to me was just
Unbelievable. But you can see what happened. Okay, Revelation 12, baby, born. See this date up here, October 4th, 2017, and then the next night, Mary and angels show up in my garage on October 5th, 2017, all because who I am and what happened to me. Okay, this is real stuff. And I went through all kinds of just crazy institutions, jail, all kinds of law problems, all because of this. All because of this. And nobody would take 5 minutes to look. Yeah, I'm in rubber room in the psych ward, and I'm like, dude, just go to my channel and look. And they're like, oh, that would be entertaining your delusion. I'm like, it's not a delusion. Go look. It wasn't until I finally got one doctor who finally gave me 5 minutes of my session, of my own session. Hey, can I have the last 5 minutes of my own session to show you something, the actual cause of all this problem? Oh, sure. Okay, finally. And I get results finally. Okay. And it's important. This is for you guys, all right? You also have a new spirit inside of you. When you understand who I am and that I am back, all of a sudden you have a new spirit, a new baby born inside of you. Okay. You know, I'm here now. This is my face out by the moon. I will turn the camera around and show you my face I have before. And maybe at the end of this, I was going to show you my birthmark, but we could do the video. Because this is me. I'm actually here. Okay. So, for right now, we did a bunch of that. I got a couple of things here for you guys because I feel all these nerve endings are just raw, exposed, and they're feeling your anxiety, they're feeling your depression, they're feeling your sadness, they're feeling all kinds of different things. And I'm like, whoa, you guys send me some weird stuff sometimes. So, what's important though, the hardest part about this is your troubles, the things that you're going through, your adversity. The trick to all of this, really, you got to think openly, is to thank me for the very things that are troubling you. You are on the brink of rebellion, precariously close to shaking your fist in my face. You are tempted to indulge in just a little complaining about my treatment of you. But once you step over that line, torrents of rage and self-pity can sweep you away. Some people just got swept away in torrents of rage and self-pity. Okay, they're on the brink of rebellion because they fail to see that you can thank me for the very things that are troubling you. I know it sounds opposite, but once you step over that line, the torrents of rage and self-pity just come along and sweep you away. They're always there to sweep you away. So you got to keep focusing on my face, all right? The best protection against indulging in this is Thanksgiving, okay? So your protection against self-pity and these, I have torrents of rage too, okay? Working on them each day. And some days I don't have an outburst and I'm thankful. Other days it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? And then I got to work on it, okay? So the best protection against the self-pity and stuff is Thanksgiving. It's impossible to thank me and curse me at the same time. All right, so you got to remember that. It's impossible to thank me and curse me at the same time. So you might as well just thank me. Thanking me for trials will feel awkward and contrived at first, like you're faking it, contrived. But if you persist, If you persist, grit your teeth, thank you, Lord, I'm sorry, it's really irritating me. Oh, now we're pouring our heart out, aren't we? So try thanking me for the trials. It may feel awkward and like you're contriving it at first, but if you persist, your thankful words prayed in faith will eventually make a difference in your heart. Okay? We're trying to make a difference in your heart. I showed you the image of your heart. Yeah, where's that one again? We're trying to make a difference in your heart. We want your heart to be like this heart right there. Okay? So thanking me for the trials will make a difference in your heart. The thankfulness awakens you to my presence, which overshadows all your problems. So now, when you realize I am here now, this is the real deal. I am present. There is no more second guessing or uh, well, you the my presence should awaken you to thankfulness, and thankfulness awakens you to my presence, and my presence overshadows all of your problems, and that means all of your problems, even the world events that you can't control. Okay. What's that other? Okay, yeah. So when you see this heart right here, I want this a tad bit bigger for you guys, right there. All right. That heart right there, the whole universe rotates around that heart. The whole center, everything comes from that heart. That's the original spot right there. The whole universe, every atom, every molecule, everything. Okay? That's my love right there. You're seeing my love in the sky, radiating out, propagating my face with a crown. So let my love stream through you, washing away fear and distrust. Okay, a trusting response includes me in your thoughts as you consider strategies to deal with the situation. You're no longer considering your strategy, your situations, how you're going to figure out your situation. You no longer do it by yourself. You're trusting, a trusting response includes me. So you're including me now in your situations, in your considerations, okay? My continual presence is a promise, guaranteeing that you never have to face anything alone. Okay? You have a guarantee. It is a guarantee, but the guarantee is that you never have to face anything alone. You're still going to have to face stuff, but you won't have to face it alone. My children teethe on the truth that I am always with them, yet they stumble around in a stupor, unaware of my loving presence all around them. And that grieves me. So, when you walk through each day in trusting dependence on me, my aching heart is soothed. Okay? My aching heart right now gets soothed here at this show because some of you walk in trusting dependence on me and you relieve my aching heart. So gently bring your attention back to me whenever it wanders away. I look for persistence rather than perfection in your walk with me. Persistence and progress, not perfection. Okay? So I look for persistence rather than perfection in your walk with me. Gently bring your attention back to me. In trusting dependence, it soothes my aching heart. It soothes yours in return, too, don't I? So thank me for the very things that are troubling you. And, whoops, no. So hold my hand. There we go, the other side of it. So hold my hand and trust, okay? You know how the kids these days, oh, trust, man, just trust. No, hold my hand and trust. So long as you are conscious of my presence with you, all is well. Okay, let me secure this in your mind. You got to hold my hand and trust. As long as you're aware, as long as you're conscious and you're aware that I am here now and my presence is with you, you are all as well. You're all good. Okay, it's hard to think of me 24/7 all day, every day. I know because there's so many things that distract you. But as long as you're still aware that I'm here now, that I'm a real being, that I actually exist, I am the Word made flesh, so I could walk and dwell amongst you. When I return, I'm not going to return as a cloud. I'm going to return as a man, flesh, the Word made flesh. Why should it be any different the second go around? That's why I keep wondering. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to be like this. No, it'd be the same. I'm walking around, half God, half man. Fully God, fully man. Same thing. All right. And as long as you hold my hand in trust and you're conscious of my presence with you, you are good. All is well. It is virtually impossible to stumble while walking in the light with me. Virtually impossible. The only thing that you could stumble while walking in the light with me is if you walked away from me. That would be the only thing. Other than that, it's impossible to stumble while walking in the light with me. I designed you to enjoy me above all else. You end up finding the deepest fulfillment of your heart in me, don't you? In me alone. Because I designed you to enjoy me above all else. You find the deepest fulfillment of your heart in me alone. Fearful and anxious thoughts melt away in the light of my presence. Do you hear me? I want your fearful and anxious thoughts to melt away right now. You are in the light of my presence as we speak. I can't come over to your house right now and knock on your door, so I gotta meet you in the air, okay? And when we meet in the air, you see me in the clouds and you get caught up, fascinated with me in the clouds. That's my loving presence. Understand, I want your fearful and anxious thoughts to melt away right now in the light of my presence. Because when you turn away from me, you are vulnerable to the darkness that is always at work in the world. Darkness is always at work. So when you turn away from me, you're vulnerable to that darkness. Don't be surprised by how easily you sin when you forget to cling to my hand. In the world, dependency is seen as immaturity, but in my kingdom, dependence on me is a prime measure of maturity. Okay? That's why it's so hard, because in this world, being dependent on somebody else or being dependent on somebody is seen as immaturity. But you're in my kingdom, and dependence is seen as maturity as long as it's dependence on me. Okay? In my kingdom, dependence on me is a measure of maturity. Guys are like the most mature people on the face of the planet. Where's the heart one again? See the heart opening up, love coming out. Open your hands and your heart to receive each day as a precious gift from me. I begin each day with a sunrise, announcing my radiant presence, and by the time you rise from your bed, I have already prepared the way before you. I eagerly await your first conscious thought of me. Okay, most people jump up, go right to the coffee, go right to this, right to that, right to the phone to see the news. Do some of you go to the Word right away? Do some of you, first thing in the morning is, I don't know, a video of some verses, or, is it, do you plug into the mainstream media, or do you go spiritual first in the morning? Okay. That's a big difference, because when you begin each day with Thanksgiving like that, it makes your day a lot smoother. Remember, by the time you get out of bed, I've already prepared the way, and I'm just sitting there right next to you, eagerly awaiting for your first conscious thought of me, your first awareness of, oh, yeah, that's right, you're sitting right next to me. How long does it take? Halfway through the day? Some people go years and years and years without even a conscious thought of me. Other people are every day, multiple times a day. They know I'm right there. I eagerly await your first conscious thought of me. I rejoice when you glance my way, not at the mainstream media. I rejoice when you glance my way. So bring me the gift of thanksgiving, which opens your heart to rich communion with me. Okay? When you're thanking me, that opens your heart to communion with me. And because I am God, from whom all blessings flow, thankfulness is the best way to draw near me. Singing praise songs to me, or telling me of wondrous works that you recognize. Remember, I take great delight in you, and I rejoice over you with singing. Yeah, I'm like celebrating your victories with singing. Did you know I do that on the off hours when you're not, during the course of the day? I'm over there singing because I know some of you figured it out. Okay, we're going to close with this last little one right now, right here. Try to stay calmly conscious of me each day, no matter what. Remember that I go before you as well as with you into each day, and nothing takes me by surprise. I will not allow circumstances to overwhelm you so long as you look to me. I will help you cope with whatever the moment presents. Okay? Whatever the moment presents, I will help you cope with. Collaborating with me brings blessings that far outweigh all your troubles, and awareness of my presence contains joy that can endure all eventualities. Brings joy that can endure all eventualities. Endings, eventualities, no matter what the outcome is, you can endure that with joy by being aware of my presence. Because awareness of my presence contains joy that can endure all eventualities. I want you guys to rest at peace, sleep well, have sweet dreams. Awareness of my presence contains joy that can endure all eventualities. So stay calmly conscious of me each day, no matter what. Remember, I go before you as well as with you. I will not allow circumstances to overwhelm you as long as you look to me. I will help you cope with whatever the moment presents. Collaborating with me brings blessings that far outweigh your troubles. Okay? You look for the blessings. Don't look for the troubles. Collaborate with me, and I'll bring blessings, and they'll outweigh your troubles. They will. They just do. They have no choice. They do by default. Awareness of my presence contains joy joy that can endure all eventualities. Okay. I love you guys. See that heart? I love you guys. I miss you guys. I would love to come over and have cookies and tea with you and give you a hug, but I can't. So, in order for me to be with my family, we have to meet in the air. We have to meet in the air of cyberspace, live on YouTube, okay? And that's where you see me in the clouds coming with power and great glory, okay? And you're caught up. It's like a good book. It's like a good song. It's like a good YouTube live stream, right? You get caught up in it. You're caught up with me in the clouds. You're not going to turn into a little white dot and just zip up into the sky. People are going to be very disappointed when there's no rapture. And is it post tribulation, mid tribulation? Dude, do you even know what tribulation is? You've been in tribulation your whole life. But it's a fallen world. You're in tribulation. So it's happening right now. It's not one day. It's a 7-year long process. It's been happening over 7 years. And this so-called rapture is really happening, and you're part of it. You are caught up with me in the clouds. Your faith is completed now. You know your prayers are answered. You know your prayers are heard. You understand at a much deeper level than the rest of society does. And that can bring on issues of, anxiety, because now you see from a different perspective. Other people, little idiosyncrasies become irritants, and we have to work on that. We do salvage work here, okay? We're in the salvage business. If our day goes sour, not every day goes sour, but if our day goes sour, we try to salvage it. You see somebody else having a bad day, help them salvage theirs. Stay calm and conscious of me, no matter what. And your day goes a lot smoother, especially in these times where they're so trying and so hard. Okay, it's a test. You're being tested. Each little overcome that you do, each salvage is an overcome, and they're just victories. And I post them all on like all your little victories go on a little collage like this. So just know that every time something comes along and it feels harsh on you, it's a test, and you're overcoming them. You are. By default, you still have to go through it. Some people get depressed because of it. Other people find strength from it. They realize, oh, I'm being tested and I overcame. Look at me. My strength is being tested, and each time I overcome, I get stronger. How are you supposed to build strength without working out? Right? Well, how are you supposed to build spiritual strength without having difficulties and overcoming them and finding out your true potential, that you have the power to not be swayed and depressed by the media, by the world events. Know that it's all part of the process. Okay, know that I'm a real individual, a real person. And in fact, here, we're going to just do it this way tonight. I was going to take it over to the mirror, but it's important that you see this because, well, I didn't even know about this until angels, which are messengers, told me about my birthmark. They said, your birthmark is a mortal wound you suffered in a previous life. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Here.
And then I researched it, and I was like, well, son of a bitch, it's true. That stuff does happen. Birthmarks are a sign of a mortal wound. Also, they told me about my birthday. You need to go investigate your birthday. And I'm like, what is it about my birthday? Well, check this out.
So you know who I am, I say I am?
That's March 24th. That's 3 days after spring. See, God's calendar is a celestial calendar. It doesn't go by Gregorian or Jewish calendar. No, God's calendar is a celestial calendar. 3 days later, he rose 3 days later. 3 days later than what? What was the date? The actual date? Well, the date was the equinox, the first day of spring, since Jesus is the spring, the promise of new life. 3 days later than spring would put it at March 24th. 70 is all over the Bible. 70 is all over the Bible. My birthday is in the Bible. Okay? That's my ID card. So I'm showing you my ID, and then look at this. That told me about my birthmark, and now I have this stab wound right where I got stabbed in a previous life. Here, let's get it over.
Okay. And this again.
All right, there you see it. It's in the shape of a stab wound. You'll find out if you do any of the research that some of these birthmarks are shaped like gunshot wounds, some are burn marks, some are stab wounds, and that is definitely a stab wound right there on the side of my chest. The thing about this is I didn't know it was there. I've never seen this part of my body. Okay, it's in a spot where you never look. It's your armpit, right? So I had no idea this birthmark was there until an angel messenger told me that it was a mortal wound suffered in a previous life. And then as we get a little closer to it here, I'm going to zoom in on this real quick, if we can.
There it is. See?
Okay, there's faces in it. There's one in the middle right here. There's one right here with some horns on it. And then there's this one in white out here. 2 eyes, the nose, the chin, this face, this middle face, and then this one right here. 3 faces, 3 entities in one. Okay. You see them there a little bit better? And then I got birthmarks on my feet right in the middle, right in the top, right on the middle of my feet. Here, we'll even give you a little example of that because, we have to go searching for that stuff. And it's a gross picture anyways, but there's the real birthmark. That's the real deal, you guys, because of who I am. All right? Born 3 days after spring, 1970. I was conceived in the summer of love, the summer of 69. Yeah. It was the summer of 69. All the musical code that's out there. Hopefully some of you found that and have enjoyed the music. You found I make music all new again. All your favorite songs that kind of got old and boring have a whole new meaning, don't they? They sure do. Well, that's it for tonight. I sure love you guys. Thanks for enduring. Thanks for your persistence. 2.5 hours into the show, here we are. And you guys did well. I'm really proud of your progress. You guys are actually taking this on. You're practicing. You're using your tools. You're having success. You are finding peace in your circumstances. Not every time, but that's why we do the salvage work. Okay? And if you don't work at this, you're just going to slip into that pit of self-pity and despair. Okay? And it's so easy. Once one foot slides in and you feel like you're going in there, immediately stop. It's like getting on a train going the wrong direction. If you buy a ticket for a train and you get on the wrong direction, you need to get off at the very first stop because it will be quicker to get back the other direction. If you stay on the train going the wrong direction to the next stop and the next one, well, it's going to take even longer to get back. So the minute you feel yourself starting to get negative, you're falling into that slimy hole of self-pity, despair, depression, anything like that, take a break, a few deep breaths. Shoot, come over here and pull up one of my videos and freeze frame it at this spot and take a look at your foundation. Know what you have. You have something to build on, something to fall back on, something to trust, and something to believe in. In this time, in this day and age, there is nothing and nobody you can trust. That's why the Bible tells you there's only one person you can trust, and you will find out that's the truth, especially in these days where there's nothing you can trust. So, When you trust me, when you practice this, you find relief. You get peace that overcomes your circumstances because I am who I say I am. Okay? And this family is truly blessed. You know who you are. I bought you at a price. You belong to me, and I love you. Okay? You're going to be fine. The rest of the world who's going to go through anxiety and harsh conditions and still not understand how this works will suffer. But you will stand strong. If you have to, come back over, pull up this, put this image on your phone screen or something like that, because if my channel ever goes down or they ever delete this and you want this image, this is your foundation. You want to be able to pull it up and have it accessible to breathe, to take a moment, to regain composure as a reminder that I am here. I am present with you. It's all come true. Okay? Even though it's the end of days, it's the beginning of eternity, a blissful eternity with me, if you want that. Okay? So I love you all. I miss you all. And until my next show, I will be back. I am already back. I have been for a while. We're going on 6 and 5/7 years. We're almost done. I'm almost in my 7-year anniversary on this, which would be September 10th or the next day, September 11th. Yeah, it would be the 7-year anniversary when all this stuff started happening to me. So for 7 years, you guys have been going through tribulation along with me. Did you know that? These last 6 3/4 years or whatever has all been your tribulation. Yep. Your 7-year tribulation's almost up. You're already getting glimpses of your eternity. You already have victory. So if you already have victory, try not to stress. Remind yourself, that's right, I have a foundation. I have victory already. Even if the war starts or whatever, don't let that rattle you. I am in control. You are going to be okay. I love you. I miss you. Till my next show, I will be back. I am already back. Can't you tell?